Thank you to Mick the Ghoul from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 2, the Chosen One is met with the harsh, unforgiving wasteland and its people. One of the more deplorable towns is New Reno. While the rest of the wasteland seems to struggle and strive, Reno seems to manufacture it, almost as if the city was trying to emulate its former glory from all the wrong angles. Inside the Shark Club here, on the second floor, we can find a hidden item that can help more than you might think. In the bottom right corner of the main room, we can find a pool table, and if we search it, inside, we can obtain the magic 8-ball, the only one of its kind in Fallout 2. Shaking the 8-ball, much like in real life, will display fortunes and answers to various questions that you might have. With a luck stat of 9 or higher, the 8-ball will even give us small clues about various happenings in the wasteland, such as telling us about a cat's paw magazine thrown away in Broken Hills. The 8-ball even references some developers of Fallout 2, claiming that Fergus didn't want it to be included in the final game. The fortune teller will even bring up other Interplay projects, mentioning, yes, we know Descent to Undermountain was crap. This is another great example of the humor in the classic Fallout games. They are filled to the brim with fourth wall breaking jokes and inside gags that add continuous charm to each playthrough. In Fallout New Vegas, we can find many different items that have somehow stayed around after 200 years of a post-nuclear apocalypse. Some, of course, are more interesting than others, but the fact that we see anything intact from before the war is pretty impressive. One of the things I was surprised to see the most was that a couple of musical instruments had survived out in the wastes. We can find a small number of harmonicas in our travels, and it makes sense that these still litter the area. While they are rare, they still appear enough to have a decently sized collection of mouth harps. However, only one other instrument appears in Fallout New Vegas, and it is far more rare, the acoustic guitar. The courier can only obtain 3 of these throughout the game, and 2 of those require stealing from a well-liked NPC. We can take the first one from the stump the Lonesome Drifter sits on. After doing so, if we complete his part of the talent pool quest by recruiting the Drifter as an act, a second acoustic guitar will spawn in his inventory. We can pickpocket this from him with good enough sneak, bringing our count to 2. Finally, in the Sierra Madre Villa, we can find the only other acoustic guitar in the game, across the street from the police station, next to a music stand. These are the only 3 guitars we can collect from the entirety of Fallout New Vegas, and I love collecting them. It's worth noting that these musical instruments serve no actual purpose as we can't play them, and that there is some writing on the bottom of the guitar. I can't really make it out myself, so I would love to know what your theories are on what the text says in the comments below. In Fallout 3, there are many nooks and crannies that go unsearched by the vast majority of players. By the very nature of a Bethesda game, it's often a rewarding experience to look everywhere, picking up almost anything you come across. Still, some items or characters won't even appear in-game unless certain conditions are met, and this can lead to the rarest items of all. With the Broken Steel DLC installed, we can visit the Presidential Metro. Inside, just up the stairs leading to the Capitol, we can find a holotape called Sorry My Darling.
If someone finds this, please give this to my lover at La Maison Beauregard Hotel in East Georgetown. He'll want to hear what I have to say. My darling, they found me. I tried to get away so we could be together once again. I know you risked your life to get it to me. Combing the ruins, avoiding the super mutants, all for me. It seems I shall never lay my eyes upon your gift. You'll have to keep it and remember me every time you see it. I'm so sorry, my darling. So sorry I've let you down. So many have died for this thing. So many hearts have been broken. Please remember, I'll always love you. You will be with me forever in my spirit. I love you.
Playing this tape starts the unmarked quest, The Sorrowful Suitor. Heading to La Maison Beauregard, we can now find a raider named Lagbolt who will only spawn after listening to the note. After dealing with him, we find our first set of unique gear, his armor and his shades. Checking out the note in his inventory, we can see he is actually the brother of Lugnut, who confronts us when we try to take the naughty nightwear. This is relevant because inside the suitcase that Lagbolt's key unlocks is the all-nighter nightwear, a unique variation of the previously mentioned pajamas. This clothing set will add 1 point to both charisma and endurance, but looks the same as the naughty nightwear when worn. Oddly enough, when placed in the game world, it maintains the leopard pattern, while its more common counterpart changes to red. Due to the steps involved in getting the nightwear, a lot of players may have missed it entirely, so make sure to pay old Lagbolt a visit the next time you are in the Georgetown area. In the Fallout 3 DLC, Operation Anchorage, the lone wanderer winds up jumping into a computer simulation of the Battle of Anchorage. This change of scenery and time frame adds a fun spin to the Fallout formula. The gameplay resembles more of a first-person shooter approach akin to Call of Duty. While we can find a plethora of new weapons and armor in this DLC, there was still some cut content that, while we weren't supposed to be able to access, still resides in the game and is reachable without any tricks, except maybe being a good jumper. We can leave the playable map area by getting on top of the rocks next to this pipe. The jumping is exceptionally tricky, so I recommend PC players just no-clip to the top. Once up here, if we travel west of the field HQ, we can find 6 smoke grenades cut from the final game. Picking them up, we can see they do an okay amount of damage, but using them will show they pretty much just act like frag grenades, with no real smoke effect when deployed. These grenades are certainly some of the most hidden weapons in Fallout 3, and getting your hands on them can be tricky. Still, rare item hunters will want to add them to their collection for their day in the snow. In Fallout 2, the Chosen One leaves their tribe and stumbles through the wasteland for years looking for the Garden of Eden creation kit. While the Gek is a rare item, we can find an even more unique piece in the caves under Modoc. During the quest to find the Gold Watch, we can search the outhouse to see a giant rat guarding various items, including the watch. Using something like plastic explosives, we can breach the wall and defeat the rat to claim our prizes. One of the easier to miss items down here is one of the rarest in the game, a bag. This bag can help with organizing your inventory and can hold up to 20 pounds, but it won't be able to hold any more significantly sized things like armor sets. This is the only bag that we can find in Fallout 2, so it's a must for rare item hunters and people looking to add more organization to their inventory. Let me know in the comments below what you plan to put in your bag. Thank you to Azzy from the Discord server for suggesting this. Make sure to check out the channel Atomic Media, whose video was used as a reference for this fun fact. In Fallout New Vegas, we can visit the various casinos on the Strip for some much needed rest and relaxation. One casino houses the man who shot the courier in Goodsprings and left them for dead, Benny. His tribe runs the Tops Casino. While most people will want to handle things as soon as they see Benny, this can be difficult due to the casino confiscating any weapons they find upon entering. We can still get access to our guns though, and doing so will prompt Benny to say some unique dialogue. Once inside the Tops, if we head up to the locker where the weapons are stored, we can sneak our way past the cashier. We can lockpick the container and get all of our weapons back. Now going to Benny, we can tell him what we are up to for some humorous reactions.
What in the goddamn? Let's keep this in the groove, hey? Smooth moves like smooth little babies. You want a reason? How about 4? They're called bodyguards, and every one of them is packing. Me too, so baby makes 5. Add to that, every chairman in this joint is armed, and not with some holdout pea shooter like maybe you smuggled through security. Anything I needed to worry about, baby, got confiscated at the door. You're bluffing, baby. Except maybe you're not. Sweet little caper getting your weapons back, but let cooler heads prevail, hey? No need for violence. We got a problem, boys. Whoa!
Thank you to Cosmo the Wolf from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, we assume the role of the courier and go out to look for the man who wronged us in Goodsprings. Before we get to that task, we have to build our character, and we can get quite the boost if we play our cards right. When selecting perks, you should pick Skilled and Wild Wasteland. Skilled because we need it for the boost, and in my opinion it's the best perk, and Wild Wasteland because you should always use Wild Wasteland. The Skilled perk will boost all of your skills by 5 points. After this, we want to walk away from Goodsprings until prompted to finalize our build. Now we go back into the character creation process, and when we get to the perks, select Skilled again. and we will see it has stacked, giving us a total of 10 points in every skill, making the first Goodspring quest a breeze. Also, the negative XP does not stack. This can be repeated with the Auto Dock and Old World Blues as well, which will make a total of 15 skill points when everything is said and done. Most people just confirm their character and move on, missing this boost altogether, but it can really help out, especially so early in the game. Thank you to Crimson Fox 36 from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, we can find General Atomic's Galleria. This is a small neighborhood of shops run by robots. This means that these robots continued their duties long after this was built, waiting for customers to service until they rust out. It is here that we can find Back Alley Bowling, home to Tinpin, who will greet the sole survivor as they enter the alley. Heading towards the lanes without the permission of the robot will cause all 3 robots in Back Alley Bowling to become hostile. While we may be able to convince Tinpin to let us in, if we come prepared, it won't be an issue. It seems before the war, it was $5,000 to get a lane going in this bowling alley. So if we happen to have 5,000 pre-war money on us, we can give this to Tinpin, who will continue to treat us like a customer. We can even go bowling, as one of the lanes still has 10 pins set up. There is nothing like an ice-cold Nuka-Cola and hitting the lanes to really take the edge off after a long day in the Commonwealth. Thank you to Ted from the Discord server for suggesting this one. If you like to talk about Fallout and want to chat with us, check out the link to the server in the description below. In Fallout 2, the Chosen One covers many miles looking for the Garden of Eden creation kit. One of the first locations we can come across is the Den, a city filled with shady people and a slavers guild. Still, we will be looking at Rebecca Dyer regarding this easy to miss unique reward. Suppose the Chosen One is a female named Buffy wearing leather armor. In that case, Becky has unique dialogue, as if she knows the player. The Chosen One can play along, and eventually we will be rewarded $1,000, 5 stim packs, a set of metal armor, an Uzi, 5 clips of ammo, a plasma grenade, and a flower. This is quite the gear for how early we can get it in game, and it's actually a reference to a special encounter that we can find called the Unwashed Villagers, which I've covered more in depth in another video linked here in the card. The encounter pays homage to the first Fallout fan site that is still active today. It is always great to see developers put in a bit of fan service in their games, and the classic Fallout titles are full of fun things like this. Thank you to Ghost4079 and Garmfield 2.0 from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In the Fallout 3 DLC Mothership Zeta, the lone wanderer finds themselves aboard a stunning extraterrestrial spaceship filled to the brim with secrets and goodies that are truly out of this world. One of the more peculiar places we can visit aboard the mothership is the research lab. The Zetans seem to be real fond of the giddy-up Buttercup toys that we can find littered across the wasteland. Not only that, but they also appear to be crafting the toys themselves and have hundreds of the horses in strange scenarios throughout this room. Some players may miss the small variation of the famous children's toy. One sits on the shelf amongst some of its larger counterparts in the research lab. Still, we can find 3 more of these Buttercup toys throughout the ship as we progress through the story. 2 will be displayed in the engineering core once we have destroyed the 3 generators, one resting next to a bed by the teleporter and the other one keeping Kashiro company. The final one can be found in the weapons lab on the shelf above the atomic pulverizer, making a total of 4 that we can collect. There is a ton of stuff to find in Mothership Zeta, but the rare item hunter in me has to retrieve all of the small Buttercup toys just so I know that I have them. What rare items do you like to collect in Fallout? Let me know in the comments below. In the original Fallout, some of the best experiences come from the conversations that we can have with various NPCs living in the world. Showing up to a settlement and talking to all of the locals is a must in Fallout, and one of the biggest cities we can find is the Boneyard. This is the shelled out remains of Los Angeles, and to this day it is filled with warring gangs and desperate people. The followers of the apocalypse have a library here, and in a world strangled by hardship, they act as a breath of fresh air into the wasteland. The same can't be said for a character that we can find just outside their headquarters though. Inside a small house, we can find a bounty hunter well known throughout the area, Chris Avalon. This NPC is clearly named after Fallout developer Chris Avalon, as they share the exact same name. While most things that we can say to Avalon just result in the conversation ending, he will become annoyed if we respond to him by saying a donut. Doing this a second time will cause Avalon to become hostile and attack the Vault Dweller. Of course, if the player has the Child Killer perk, prepare for a fight. And this can be quite the fight, as Chris is pretty tough and has great gear. Suppose we do manage to defeat the bounty hunter Avalon and his crew. In that case, we can get this great gear for ourselves, including a sweet set of combat armor. The classic Fallout games are filled with in-jokes from the developers, and that is precisely what this is. Moments like this add massive charm to the original Fallout games, and finding them is always a treat. Make sure to follow the account Fallout of the Day on Twitter, who gave me the idea for this video. It's an excellent account that posts daily Fallout information and facts. In Fallout 3, there was quite a bit left on the cutting room floor. Weapons, locations, and even fully fleshed out characters got the axe before the game's final version was released. Luckily, due to how the Gamebryo engine works, we can still see much of what was cut. One instance of this is the unique baseball bat known as the Cursebreaker. This cut melee weapon is visibly identical to its common counterparts, much like most, if not all, of the unique weapons in Fallout 3. The Cursebreaker does a bit more damage than the standard baseball bats and has a better critical chance as well, meaning you will swing for the fences most times you square up with this swatter. The name is likely a nod to the Curse of the Bambino, which many baseball fans believed was the curse of the championship drought of the Boston Red Sox after the team sold Babe Ruth to the Yankees, which led to New York claiming the top spot in the MLB for years. I speculate this might have been found on a named raider at Fordham Flash Field, which has some other baseball-related happenings. We may never know how it was going to be used, but it's always nice to see the cut content of the Fallout series to see what could have been. In the Fallout New Vegas DLC Lonesome Road, the courier is regularly beckoned by Ulysses, who holds quite the grudge against us throughout our Mojave adventure. In the middle of the high road, many people know about the advanced riot gear perched high in the crow's nest, being worn by a dead ghoul NCR riot control officer. The great thing about this armor set is that it can be used to repair an even better outfit later on in the Divide. We can find another dead ghoul NCR riot control officer on the top floor of the 3rd Street Municipal Building, except this one is donned with the Elite Riot Gear version of this great armor, making it significantly better than the previous set that we found. What's truly fantastic about both of these armors is that they are faction neutral. This means that if you don't feel quite right about putting on an NCR uniform, but still can't deny how amazingly awesome the riot gear is, you can still throw it on and look your best throughout the rest of the Mojave. Thank you to Kata the Leopard from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In the Fallout New Vegas DLC Dead Money, the courier is brought to the Sierra Madre Resort and Casino, fitted with a bomb collar and forced to work with a pack of characters in order to make a grand escape. Plenty of things stand in our way: the ghost people who call the area home, various traps, and a thick poisonous cloud that can drop even the strongest wastelander in seconds. Still, one item waits for us at the Sierra Madre. An item that has no real use and is out of the player's way just enough to go widely unnoticed by those who aren't looking for it. The embalming fluid. The only 4 jars of this substance in the game can be found in Salida del Sol North, at the Campanas del Sol. This room clearly acted as a morgue and chapel pre-war, and these jars are a reminder of the good old days. Embalming fluid prevents decomposition in bodies post-death in the real world. As for Fallout New Vegas, the substance has no use. It's not used in any quests, nor can it be crafted into anything. Seemingly, the jars were placed here for the ambience and to further identify the room. Whatever the case may be, rare item hunters will want to go out of their way to collect this 4-of-a-kind find. Just don't think about what it'll cost you to get to the Sierra Madre in the first place. Thanks to Tim from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, there are plenty of valleys, dry lakes, and caves just waiting for explorers to find the treasures they hide. The Mojave Wasteland, though vast and open, still has a host of things to find for those who catch the wanderlust. Inside the stunning Fire Root Cavern, there is one rare item that many people miss because of the fearsome lizards that guard the cave, and the clever hiding spot from whoever left it. Among the overgrown plants and guarded by the legendary fire gecko, we can find the only evil gnome that Fallout New Vegas offers. While the standard gnomes look how we would expect, this figure is wearing black-rimmed glasses and has a more elaborate beard with darker hair. This is a reference to Scott Everts, the lead world builder of New Vegas, as in the game files, the gnome is referred to as Scott E. Gnome and bears a resemblance to the man himself. Fallout as a series has never been shy about self-referencing and having fun with the developers, and this gnome is a great way to show love for one of the leads of New Vegas, so make sure to give Scott a good home the next time you are scavenging around Fire Root Cavern. In Fallout 3, drinking water from natural sources can be a great way to boost your HP at the cost of your rad count. Still, in the Operation Anchorage DLC, we can find something that we don't usually see. Outside of the playable map, there are large bodies of water. Of course, this being a computer simulation, the water isn't real, and though we have no interaction with water in Anchorage under normal means, Bethesda still accounted for this when adding water to the DLC. If we were to approach the liquid in Operation Anchorage, we would see that drinking it offers no HP regeneration, and it is also radiation free. This is not something that needed this change, as if I recall correctly, we don't get close to any water during the events of the DLC. Perhaps Bethesda had planned for us to have interaction with the ocean or some lakes and then made changes, or they just made sure that the water in the Anchorage area acted correctly due to the simulation. Either way, an excellent small detail for eagle-eyed players. Thank you to Duck from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, my favorite of the minor factions that we can meet are the Kings. As a lifelong fan of Elvis Presley, it was a joy to see a faction dedicated to his character and memory in the game. If we go to the King's School of Impersonation, we can find a few unique things. Some I have covered in past videos. Still, if we talk to the resident hairdresser for this group of cats, we can obtain one of the most easily missable melee weapons in Fallout New Vegas. On the first floor of the school, we can find Sergio. Sergio cuts hair for the group and is highly recommended by the king himself if the courier earns their spot with the faction. However, the gang will not turn hostile if we take matters into our own hands and attack the barber. This is the fastest and easiest way to get Figaro, the unique switchblade. While the blade itself is beautiful, it's certainly not the best weapon you will find in New Vegas, but it is often missed due to a bug within the game. On consoles, where many people enjoy the Fallout series, Sergio often doesn't spawn. Since console commands are exclusive to PC, it will lead to Figaro being impossible to obtain. So if you are a unique item hunter and you're looking for a great knife to go with your new greaser look in the wasteland, make sure to stop by the Kings and pay Sergio a visit. Thank you to Smoky Pineapple 4 from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, we have looked at the connections between the Commonwealth and the Capital Wasteland. One of the most significant references to Fallout 3 that we can find in Fallout 4 is located at the fortified community known as Covenant. When we approach, the guard, Swanson, will tell us about the settlement and let us know that we can enter by taking the safe test. When he asks the sole survivor to sit, if we take his seat, he will have a unique voice line for us, though it's just one line.
Take a seat and we can begin. That's my seat, bub. Once you sit on the other side of the desk, we'll start.
Taking the safe test, someone who has played Fallout 3 may notice that all of the questions are from the GOAT test, which the Lone Wanderer took when they were 16 years old in Vault 101. The safe test, of course, removes any references to the vaults.
I wouldn't worry. If he did that, it'd cause parabolic destabilization of the fission singularity.
Yeah.
Question 1. A frenzied vault scientist runs up to you and yells, "I'm going to put my quantum harmonizer in your photonic resonation chamber." What's your response?
Speaking of the GOAT test, we can hear the futures of our peers in Vault 101 if we stick around after the test. This is a small detail that I think really paints a nice picture of the inner workings of the vault.
Here you are, Mr. Brotch. I hope I did okay.
Nothing for you to worry about, Miss Almodovar. Let's see. Very well done. Looks like it's the supervisory track for you.
Thanks. See you tomorrow.
Yo, Teach, I'm done.
Ah, Butch. Can I admit that I've been waiting for this day for a long, long time? Allow me to savor the moment. Now then, let's see. Really? Interesting. You surprised me, Butch. I didn't think you had it in you. Hairdresser. Who would have thunk it?
You're so full of it. That isn't true.
I'm all done, Mr. Brotch. I guess. Wait a second. Can I have it back? I think I need to change one of my answers.
Just calm down a minute, Paul. I'm sure you have nothing to worry about. Let's see. Yep, just as I thought. You're slated for the engineering track. Congratulations, Mr. Hannon. You've passed the GOAT.
Oh, gee. That's not so bad. Engineering, all right.
Mother can't wait to find out if I'll be going into science or home economics.
Science. Well, perhaps. Let's see what the GOAT says. Well, well. Maintenance department. I Hope your mother will be pleased.
Bye.
Across from Covenant, at the compound, if we are looking for Fallout 3 references, some of the most apparent are hanging all over the walls. We can find GOAT test posters, including Vault Boy sporting a 101 on his Vault suit, which is likely just an oversight, but could be a way the devs continued the Easter egg with the safe test. Small details like this genuinely make the Fallout series fun to replay over and over again. Thank you to Voina from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, when we are at the Nuka World theme park, we will meet the three factions that call the area home: the Pack, the Operators, and the Disciples. Throughout the DLC, we will choose which gangs we like the most and help them accomplish their goals. Some Fallout 4 players may have missed a very well hidden Easter egg on the roof of the Disciples' headquarters. When scaling the concrete structure, if we jump from a railing to the top of Nisha's shack, we can get to the very top of this building. We will then see a one-of-a-kind sight behind a Jingles doll and a campfire. A miniature figurine that looks to be of Han Solo from the Star Wars franchise is frozen in carbonite and seems to be resting here. The most peculiar part of this whole encounter is that if the sole survivor shoots the figure, it will bleed as if it were a living enemy. I imagine this is just a fan of the movie showing their love with a bit of a tongue-in-cheek reference, and it's fun to find this kind of stuff in open world games. The blood coming from the object is a really nice touch, and I believe it drives home the Easter egg even more. In Fallout 3, the Lone Wanderer has a plethora of different clothing options. From the absurd to the incredibly protective, armor and clothes are some of the most fun things to collect. Deep in the depths of Uptown in the pit, while it may seem desolate and cleaned out, one should still keep their eyes peeled for the next fashion piece to add to their collection. In the old abandoned apartments near the Raiders' primary hub, we can find a unique hat that is pretty easy to miss. In the first apartment on the second floor, after lockpicking the easy door, we can find an average locked safe. Inside will be some clearly Chinese-related gear, including the one-of-a-kind Hat of the People. The hat looks the same as its Chinese commando hat counterparts, but will boost your small guns by 5 instead of adding a point to perception. This fur-lined cap is not something you would expect to find in the pit, so it's a welcome surprise for people who are brave enough to search the blown-out buildings in the hellscape that was once Pittsburgh. As always, I would say rare item hunters will want to make these apartments a permanent part of their journey each playthrough of the DLC, as long as you don't mind fighting your way through hordes of trogs just to get a pre-war Chinese hat. In Fallout New Vegas, the courier can encounter a variety of different things, from roving gangs to giant sinkholes and everything in between. One of the more disgusting encounters is the wrecked highwayman just outside of Novak. The subject of many a rumor, this car crash site clearly pays homage to Fallout 2 somehow, but how deep does the reference go? Is this the car of the fabled Chosen One? Does it imply that someone like Nobark could be that very tribal? Well, not quite. This encounter references one that we could have found in Van Buren, where we would see the Chosen One's car filled with microfusion cells and a tanker fob, the latter used to drive the PMV Valdez to the oil rig to confront the Enclave. So here we are in New Vegas, where we can find the trunk sticking out of a sinkhole. The reason we see the highwayman in this state and hear the familiar gold slouch track when approaching it is because it's referencing a glitch that would happen in Fallout 2 where the trunk would just disappear. I asked Fallout New Vegas developer Chris Avalon directly about this encounter, and he had this to say: "It's just for fun. But that would have been a good idea. We did have a plan for a special encounter in Van Buren where you could find the Corvega's trunk, since it could, go missing. But alas." When asked if it was implied that Nobark was the Chosen One, he replied, "Nah, as amusing as it is to consider, Nobark wasn't the Chosen One." While this does put some rumors to rest about the location, it's still great to see any type of throwback to the classic Fallout games, and the wrecked highwayman is one of the best. Thank you to Anchorage and Gray Gray is Cool from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 3, we can find various items and weapons in nooks and crannies across the Capital Wasteland. One method Wastelanders have taken up is using hollowed out rocks as storage devices. The one we are looking at today is resting right behind Megaton. Inside we can find a rifle and some helpful items, and a note called As Requested, which reads, "S, here's that stuff you wanted. If anyone asks where you got it, say it was a gift from your grandma. Happy hunting, E." It seems we beat S to the rock, but who knows how long it's been there. This gets more interesting in Fallout 4, where we see a callback to this rock with another message from E. Behind the Museum of Witchcraft, we can find a similar hollowed out rock. This one also containing a rifle and a note, with this one saying, "S, been too long. Sorry I missed you at Megaton. Looks like history repeats itself. But, as promised, here's the gear I scrounged up. All the best and stay safe. The Commonwealth is its own kind of hell. E." This is an excellent throwback to Fallout 3 and Megaton. I love seeing this type of thing in video games. Referencing back to the previous titles in a series always gives me a sense of nostalgia, and I'm glad we have so many in Fallout 4. Thank you to Azzy from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In the Fallout New Vegas DLC, Old World Blues, the courier is thrust into a sci-fi fever dream and dropped into the Big Empty. There are plenty of dangers to find and treasures to uncover on Big Mountain, but today we will be looking at the indoor ghost town that is Higgs Village. These houses were the homes of the think tank, but now act as shells of the past, giving us glimpses into each of the executives' personalities. Outside, the centerpiece of this cul-de-sac stands tall. This large fountain ties the whole neighborhood together, but there is a way to make it run again. Heading to the X-17 meteorological station, we can find this scale model of Higgs Village, complete with fountain. Jumping onto the terminal in the same room as the snow globe will allow us to start the weather test. This will cause rain to fall on the model houses and reveal a soggy duffel bag with some random loot. If we return to Higgs Village, we can see that the fountain is back in working order after doing this, even forming a pool at the base. Many may have overlooked this tremendous small detail by not revisiting Higgs Village. Still, the fountain ties the scene together perfectly, and it makes for a nice stop during your wasteland travels. My good friend Frobro covered this as well as many other New Vegas factoids on his channel, so if you want even more Fallout facts, check out his channel linked in the description and make sure to let him know that you came from here. He's an awesome dude with great content. In Fallout 2, we can get up to some sleazy deeds, especially when visiting New Reno. When exploring such a city, protection is a must, and I'm not just talking about some armor and a good weapon. While these will protect you from the apparent dangers, it's essential in this post-war wasteland to bundle up when getting intimate, and Fallout 2 has us covered. We can find various condoms, known as Jimmy hats in-game, scattered around the world. Jenna in the Tankers sells a ton of them, pimps on the streets of New Reno carry them, and a lot of mobsters keep them around just in case. Still, nearly all the condoms we can find are in the blue or green packaging. There is another color though, and the only two that we can find for sure are being carried by the Jetmaster, Myron. For rare item hunters, these red Jimmy hats are precisely what we are looking to add to our collection, so it would be best for Myron to hand them over. These can be used before interacting with some of the more friendly residents of New Reno, but who needs that drama when you have a collection to maintain? In Fallout 3, our search for unique and bizarre items continues. One of the best things about the Fallout series is how often you can play the games and still find things you may have missed. Inside the Tacoma Park area, we can find a hat that can go unnoticed pretty easily. On the corner of Carroll Street, we can find the Nifty Thrifty's pawn shop. Inside, on a coat rack just past the entrance, is the Tacoma Park Little Leaguer cap, the only one of its kind in Fallout 3. Of course, this cap looks no different than the other hats that we can find in the Capital Wasteland. Still, it will increase the Lone Wanderer's melee weapons and explosive skills by 5, much like the Little Leaguer perk. The Tacoma area of the Capital Wasteland is by far one of the most underrated locations in Fallout 3. There's a ton of things to find for the brave vault dwellers that think they have what it takes to confront the locals. Regardless, it is always nice to add another unique item to the collection. Thank you to Azzy from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, we rescue Nick Valentine from Vault 114 and end up in Diamond City. The great green jewel of the Commonwealth lives up to its name for sure. This is by far the grandest settlement in the area, hosting great shops, interesting people, and the home of Kellogg. Before we chat with Nick in his office, we should head over to Kellogg's house, and with a master lockpick skill, we can unlock the door, allowing us to search the home's central area, as the button to open the wall only spawns when the Nick quest is activated. When returning to the spot with Valentine, he will be surprised that the door isn't locked, and we are free to enter the house with him. This is just a nice small detail for players with the forethought and lockpick skill to think ahead.
Well, what do you know? The door's not even locked. Let's head inside.
Thank you to Petrified Napkin from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, we can explore the Mojave Wasteland to our heart's content. While the surface has plenty of things to worry about, there is a sub-level in the New Vegas area as well. The sewers that run under the city are home to large groups of people looking to stay safe from the all too apparent dangers that lurk above ground. They are also home to Red Lucy and the Thorn, an arena of sorts that sees the mutated creatures of the post-war battle it out for the enjoyment of the spectators. The courier can even jump into the fights themselves, earning respect and some caps for their troubles. Red Lucy doesn't have an unlimited supply of creatures though. In order to maintain them, she has to gather eggs from topside every so often, and the courier can get the quest Bleed Me Dry from Lucy, which will target increasingly more difficult to obtain egg piles. Once the courier has finished this task, Red Lucy will be impressed and take you up on the offer of going somewhere more private, her chambers. Now that we are inside, we can see this light switch, the same one Lucy turns on before she gets more comfortable. This is a mood light switch. When turning it on, red light will coat the bed, and soft music starts playing through the speakers in the room. This is a great attention to detail that really builds on Lucy's character, as she has a very strong sexual and physical energy. So seeing that she has such a smooth setup for when things get intimate makes complete sense. Now, if only we could set something like this up in the Lucky 38 suite. Thank you to Mr. Crinkle from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 3, there are plenty of radio stations and messages floating in the air that we can pick up on with the help of our Pip-Boy 3000. Some produce rock and oldies that lift our spirits, others are used for propaganda, sending their message out to anyone who will listen. We can discover one such airwave near Mama Dulce's, the People's Republic of America broadcast. This serves as a pro-China message to the American people, but it gets a bit more interesting when we find the source. No clipping through the building itself will reveal a ham radio named after the broadcast. The lone wanderer can even communicate with it, causing some creepy dialogue.
What do you need? Whatever. What do you need? Yeah, see you. What do you need? Bye. Hey there. Whatever.
Of course, this just acts as a placeholder for the radio signals. Still, the fact that we can interact with it and the creepy female voice it possesses is quite interesting to say the least. Perhaps it would be best to just stick to Galaxy News Radio from now on. Thank you to Kitten Dispenser from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the biggest rivalries is between the New California Republic and the Great Khans. This isn't the first time the two groups have had troubles, as their origins even go back to the same vault, at least with the standard Khans from the area around the hub. This beef has carried on for over 120 years and likely will never stop. We can see a skirmish between the two groups in Boulder City. The battle seems to be at a standstill, but the courier can offer to negotiate to end things peacefully. Once inside, we can find Jessup, one of the Khans Benny hired for his ambush of the courier. But we can also find McMurphy, who was along for the ride as well, but he has seen better days. We can see McMurphy is in the introduction cutscene that shows Benny shooting the courier, and is featured in the All Roads graphic novel during his time with Benny and the group. While this is an excellent piece of lore and further drives home the animosity between the NCR and the Khans, that isn't the most interesting bit about this encounter. If you're running Fallout New Vegas on PC, you can enter the console and resurrect McMurphy. The Great Khan will have 0 hit points, so using the console again to make sure no one is hostile is a great idea. We can see what McMurphy's plan is once he is back among the living. He will return to the Good Spring Cemetery, standing ominously at the courier's shallow grave. This is just an intriguing thing to trigger in the game and is likely left over from the in-game cut intro that would have had this NPC standing in this exact spot. Whatever the case is, this is far better than lying dead on a moldy mattress, so I am sure McMurphy appreciates it. In Fallout Tactics, we traverse the wasteland, helping the Brotherhood of Steel and meeting the locals, hostile or not. Occasionally, we will hit on some special encounters in our travels, and Fallout Tactics has some of the strangest of the series. We can find a visitor from another world in the form of a flying skull, who seems to be floating around through the muck and spouting off about various things that really drives home the point that he isn't from around here in a big way. This is Mort, and he is actually from the Black Isle Studios game Planescape Torment. It seems Mort was a bit careless at the brothel and flew through a window that took him through a portal into the Fallout world. The classic Fallout games are no strangers to breaking the fourth wall and making references to the other projects that the studios may have been working on, and this is one of the best the series has to offer. So make sure to say hi to Mort the next time you are playing Fallout Tactics. In Fallout 2, there are plenty of places to explore and plunder, but the Chosen One still has a lot to look out for. Whether it's the people of the post-war wasteland, the various genetically twisted creatures, or just a puddle of goo, one should be careful where they trek when out in the wastes. In some areas, like the toxic caves, we can see presumably radioactive waste covering the site. Sometimes we have to walk through it to get to where we are going. Rubber boots can offer a bit of protection from this goo, still, eventually they will melt away, and Fallout 2 has a fun way of dealing with the Chosen One walking through too much toxic material. The game log will inform us that bunions have begun growing on our feet, and eventually these growths will lead to a whole new sixth toe. This will surely keep us out of any high society settlements, so getting rid of it is a great choice. Going to a clinic that has an auto dock, we can pay to have the toe removed, which will then add it to our inventory. The in-game description reads, "You see your sixth toe. It is a small mutated part of yourself. For some reason, you feel a terrible sense of loss as you look at the tiny amputated toe." While some NPCs may claim that this toe can be used on Frank Horrigan to instantly kill him, that is not the case, and it's just likely the devs having some fun at the player's expense. The toe will give Frank a debuff on maximum HP of -3 though. However, the Chosen One can consume the toe and receive a +2 poison level and a week-long period of -3 max HP. Still, it is quite the souvenir to carry around on your adventures, and you wouldn't want to be separated from such a special part of you. Thank you to Red Baron PH from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the main factors of the game is how you interact with the various factions that call the Mojave home. When it comes to the two most influential groups, Caesar's Legion and the New California Republic, or NCR, the courier's relationship with them can impact their adventure through New Vegas quite a bit. A positive rep with the NCR can be more rewarding as the group controls large portions of the main map and we run into them more often through a typical playthrough. One thing that changes based on faction rep is the dialogue options we have with major players of the group, many of which could be easily missed in the early game places like the Mojave Outpost. Going there idolized by the NCR will net quite a few unique responses, but this carries through to the other NCR locations around the map as well.
Maybe Jackson got some additional soldiers after all. Didn't take you for a trooper at first. You seem a little livelier than most. All right, if you're here to assist, good. That's what I want to hear.
Caravan, citizen, pilgrim, or... Reinforcements? About time we got some more hands around here. Just need something for the logbook, keeping tabs on traffic throughout the outpost. Although mostly just in, not out these days. Well, about time we got a soldier, and not a recruit. You look like you've seen some action. I need to get the caravans moving again. That means clearing a path north. There's too much crawling the asphalt up the road to allow it.
I didn't expect someone as famous as you to be here. Please tell me you're here to help.
In Fallout 3, we find ourselves in the depths of Vault 101, growing up and learning the ways of the Vault. The introduction to Fallout 3 can be pretty straightforward, guiding the player through various events, which can lead to some things being missed. One of the best examples of this is when we are given the BB gun from James and tasked with hitting the targets. Most players just follow the directions, either getting through this bit as quickly as possible or outright following the game's path. If we run out of BBs during this bit, we can get some unique dialogue from James and some more insight into the Radroach.
Don't worry, you'll get the hang of it. Here are some more BBs. If you're having trouble, try crouching to steady your aim.
Hey, shoot at the targets, okay? That's not a toy.
Having trouble with that Radroach? Nasty little things. They pretty much keep to dark places, though. That's why there are always lights on in the vault. I know you can, and that's good. I'm not always going to be here to take care of you. You've got to learn to fend for yourself. Now, take your time, breathe slowly, sight down the barrel, and squeeze the trigger. Something wrong? That Radroach is still over there. Out already? Something wrong with the sights on that thing. Here you go, son.
Thank you to Cran Mythos 57 from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In the Fallout New Vegas DLC, Old World Blues, we can find one of the best Fallout experiences to date. The level of science fiction and mystery in the Big Empty provides for an excellent adventure that is sure to surprise and delight any couriers who find themselves in the area. On the western outskirts of the map, amongst the Hexcrete archipelago, we can find the Z-38 Lightwave Dynamics Research Building. Inside, we see that this facility was used by scientists taking orders from Fred Sinclair, who was responsible for building the Sierra Madre. A terminal resting on the ground floor goes over the various frustrations that the team had with living up to Sinclair's expectations. And seemingly for reference, when they were designing the Vera Keys hologram, we can find a movie poster featuring the starlet hanging on the wall and a small framed portrait on the table across the room. The hardest thing to miss here is the giant blue beam that seems to be projected from both the floor and the ceiling. This was used to create and sculpt the holograms that the scientists were working on. Stepping into this light will cause the courier to faint for 12 hours, making this a great way to pass the time when needed in old world blues. There's a valence radii accentuator in the center of the beam that we can pick up once we regain control of the courier. Overall, something like this that adds more lore to another DLC is really nice to see. It shows that connections exist all over the Mojave and beyond, and that there is plenty of attention to detail in Fallout New Vegas. Thank you to Genial Dragon from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, we can come across Nuka World. This theme park is in surprisingly good condition due to the circumstances and has become overrun by raiders. While dangers loom around the park's outskirts, one creature was cut from the game. However, it still exists in the Fallout 4 game files, and if you have the Nuka World DLC, you can use console commands to see it for yourself. The Quantum Deathclaw is precisely what it sounds like. A Deathclaw that has ingested so much Nuka Quantum, it is now glowing with the signature blue tint. These Deathclaw variants were going to be on par with the standard glowing Deathclaws that we have seen in the Commonwealth. Still, we can see this cut creature using console commands, and it's cool that we can spawn it in-game to see what could have been. Thank you to Azzy from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout New Vegas, we see firsthand the battle between the Legion and the NCR. Many different towns and locations are affected by this, and one of the most notable is Nelson. The town of Nelson has been overrun by the Legion, who have NCR troopers displayed on crosses in the center of the settlement. Ranger Milo is one of the NPCs that we can meet just outside on the road leading to the site. Milo has a few unique interactions that are worth mentioning. For example, Ranger Milo is one of the only NPCs that the courier tells their name to, which will prompt an NCR reputation check, changing Milo's dialogue depending on the relationship with the faction.
My apologies, but that name and face ain't ringing the old school bell upstairs. Afraid I can't let you through until the situation is resolved. Fair enough. It's not like any of the troopers around here are jumping up to volunteer. Oh heck, I've heard of you. Supposed to be a regular hero or something, ain't that right? But maybe you're a little too reputable to get involved in some dirty work for the Republic. Well, I'll be damned. Looks like you've got some dirt in you after all.
Ranger Milo will mention that some Legion snakes have taken control of Nelson. A courier with intelligence under 4 will not understand his metaphoric speaking, leading to some humorous, unique dialogue.
Hold up there. This area is locked down by the NCR military until we can dislodge some Legion snakes from Nelson. You're one of them special folks, ain't you? They ain't real snakes, see? They're Legion soldiers. I just called them snakes because they're low down and sneaky. Like a snake. Anyway, we always have trouble with Legion around here. This time, they jumped to Camp in Nelson while the troopers were setting up. Captured a bunch of gear and took the town. Couple of troopers, too. Got them crucified down near the center of town.
Finally, the Ranger will joke with the courier about having a couple of dozen hits of Psycho to boost the troops. Suppose we call his bluff and actually have that much Psycho in our inventory. In that case, Milo will have more unique dialogue for this.
Well, I'll be damned. Looks like you've got some dirt in you after all. If you had a few dozen doses of Psycho on you, maybe we could pep those weepy troopers into charging down into Nelson and taking back the camp. But since that's not likely, you could help me take out the Legion's trooper hostages. All right. I have to admit I wasn't expecting you to say that. I was just joking, but if it makes you feel any better, I'm impressed. So anyway, how about those hostages?
Ranger Milo has a lot of character-specific dialogues and interactions. It really shows the amount of care and attention to detail that was applied when Fallout New Vegas was in development. Thank you to Anthony from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 3, we start our journey as a child growing up in Vault 101. going through major life events like our 10th birthday party, which is the time that young dwellers get issued their Pip-Boy, an exciting time indeed. After the party winds down a bit, Dad will get a call from Jonas. This prompts the adventure to the lower floors, where Dad gives us our first BB gun and a rad roach appears. One of the most easily missed voice lines in Fallout 3 happens right here, and believe it or not, it's from the Lone Wanderer themselves. Injuring the rad roach and walking away from it will trigger the player character to comment on losing the enemy. This is confirmed to be the Lone Wanderer by trying both the male and female characters, in which the voice actor will change to match. This is the only spoken voice line from the player character with actual words, not just grunts and moans.
I guess it was nothing.
I guess it was nothing.
Thank you to Tommy Huang from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In the Fallout New Vegas DLC, Lonesome Road, we come to the Divide, a war-torn hellscape, ground zero to multiple nuclear strikes. Crumbling highways and destroyed buildings litter the area, but so do marked men and Deathclaws, one of the roughest spots in the game. We can find caves and valleys hiding even more dangers through the rubble, one of which hides quite possibly one of the strongest Deathclaws in Fallout New Vegas. Entering the cave will trigger a collapse in the entrance, trapping you with the beast, with a pretty likely outcome for those who are not prepared. However, if we come a bit prepared, this is possibly the easiest encounter with a Deathclaw in any Fallout game. Shooting a flare at Rar will cause him to flee, as he is scared of the fire. At this point, Rar will hide under the undetonated nuke that sits in the cave. Activating it with the laser detonator will cause the rocks to fall onto the Deathclaw, killing him instantly. This is a great trick to employ that makes the fight way more manageable, and it's a terrific attention to detail from the developers. It's always cool to be able to use the environment in fights, and this is a great example. Thank you to Kenichi from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, we can meet many residents of the Commonwealth, all dealing with their own trials and tribulations. One such person is Barney Rook, who occupies the Rook family house just north of Salem. When we find Barney, he is fighting off Mirelurks from a perch on top of his home. Once they are dealt with, he will confront the sole survivor and allow us entry into his house. Once inside, we can speak to Barney, who will tell us about his rifle Reba, and her sister Reba 2. Completing this quest for Rook will reward us with a key to his storage and access to Reba 2. Still, we can also obtain the original Reba from Barney himself, by more nefarious means. The interesting thing about these guns is that Reba 2, the quest reward, is a legendary variant that does boosted damage to Mirelurks. At the same time, the original Reba that Barney is holding is not legendary, but still renamed, which makes it a pretty rare find in the Commonwealth. More modifications will be added to Reba and her sister depending on your level. If your level is high enough, Reba will be one of the best rifles you can find in Fallout 4. This gun adds some fun lore to Rook and his home. Reba could be easily missed by players who just complete the quest and move on about their day. Still, this is one rifle rare item collectors won't want to miss. In Fallout 3, there's a tremendously big wasteland to explore in the former capital of the old US of A. Still, likely the first place we all encountered after leaving the vault was Megaton, a settlement built out of the shells of old airplanes that hosts an undetonated atomic bomb as a city center. Lucas Sims is the acting sheriff of the town, spending his free time taking care of the mayoral duties, so it is safe to say Sims is a capable man, and it would seem the people of Megaton, for the most part, love and respect him. And if we chat with him after entering Megaton, we can start to see why. Sheriff Sims is an excellent judge of character and will have different unique dialogue depending on the player's karma level. Each karma level is paired, meaning very good and good get the same reaction, as do the evil ranks. Though strangely, Sims will salute a very evil or evil character at the beginning of the conversation. This does not happen with neutral or above.
Name's Lucas Sims, town sheriff, and mayor too, when the need arises. You've got a weird look about you, boy. The kind that means trouble. I give everyone a fair shake, but if you do anything remotely stupid, you're dead. Name's Lucas Sims, town sheriff, and mayor too, when the need arises. Name's Lucas Sims, town sheriff, and mayor too, when the need arises. I don't know why, but I like you, boy. Something tells me you're all right. So welcome to Megaton. Just holler if you need something.
In Fallout 2, we are at New Reno again. The bright lights and bustling citizens of this condemned hellhole are sure to feed into any vice that the Chosen One may have. While the main bits of Reno are filled with sin, this isn't the same for every spot in the area. In fact, the Wrights have a tremendous setup to the east. This is where we can chat it up with the mini Wright children, who have some unique humorous dialogue if we visit them after completing the main quest. Still, if we barter with them, 2 of the children will have a rare object we can only find here. We can get the small figurines from the kids for just about $200 or a good pickpocket skill. The in-game description reads, "You think this might be a carving of the Pip-Boy, but you can't be sure." While this model looks slightly different from what we know Vault Boy to look like, it's still a nice rare find to add to our collection. Many players may not even come this way in New Reno, and the children themselves are hard to spot, making these statues pretty easy to miss. Thank you to GHG from the Discord server for suggesting this one. If you have Discord and want to chat about Fallout and other games, consider checking out the community Discord link in the description. In Fallout New Vegas, one of the most underutilized areas is the underwater landscape around the Mojave. While we see fish and nice looking aquatic plants, we can't find a whole lot in the form of treasures while in the depths of the water. Around the area next to the scavenger platform, we can find something interesting and a little reward for diving couriers. We see a crashed Sunset Sarsaparilla truck. Inside, we see it was carrying a sizable load of the drinks. While we can find 3-star bottle caps down here, the more interesting fact to me is that the Sunset bottles are unique to this area. These are the only empty bottles that will sink, presumably to set up the scene for the truck. Carrying one of the bottles out of the water, we can throw it back in to see it slowly sink to the bottom. In contrast, it will float on the surface if we do the same with a typical empty Sunset Sarsaparilla bottle. This is just a tiny detail that I find very interesting, and for people looking for special items in the game, this sunken truck has quite a bit to offer. Thank you to Baba Ganoush from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 3, traveling to Point Lookout can lead to adventure and some gritty experiences. It can also lead to the absolute worst weapon in the entire game. Deep in the swamp, south of Turtle Dove Detention Camp, we can find a box with a hockey mask on top of it, resting next to the toy knife. This melee weapon is almost certainly the worst that you will find in the Wasteland because, as the name suggests, it's just a toy. The toy knife has the lowest damage of all weapons in Fallout 3. It is also the most fragile, breaking fast when used in combat for self-explanatory reasons. Still, you can get plenty of swings and vats because the toy knife uses the least AP out of all the weapons in the game as well. I would say obtaining this knife is solely for rare and unique item collectors due to the condition that it's in and the fact that it's pretty much useless as an actual weapon. It seems someone out in the swamp was having a bit of fun. Or could this be a nod to the pint-sized slasher? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you to YepKing783 from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, Diamond City acts as a significant hub for the people that live in the Commonwealth. The converted baseball stadium has one of the best markets for miles, and it is in this market that we will find many people worrying about synths. Whether it's because of Piper's paper or just general paranoia, the people of Diamond City are abuzz with talks of the Institute kidnapping citizens in the night and replacing them with synths. It has gotten so bad that some can't even trust their own flesh and blood. We see this with Kyle and Riley, 2 brothers that call the Great Green Jewel of the Commonwealth home. Kyle is convinced that his brother Riley has been replaced by a synth, and this all comes to a head in front of everyone in the Diamond City market. Typically, we would see this confrontation and eventually one of the guards would stop Kyle. However, suppose we do the heavy lifting and drop Kyle ourselves. In that case, the guard will have some unique dialogue for the sole survivor.
Okay, show's over. There are no synths in Diamond City, hear me? Just you folks and your damn paranoia.
At least someone in this town did more than just stand and gawk.
Nice shot. But I'm gonna have to ask you to step back. Got a mess to clean up.
I understand, officer. I just want to know what happened.
What, you didn't hear the shouting? Guy pulls a gun on his own brother, thinking he's a synth. It's that newspaper's fault. Got people all riled up, thinking their own family might be replaced by machines. Look, I'm sorry you got caught up in all this, but it's over, okay? Just go about your business like nothing happened. Better that way.
In Fallout 2, we can find many items that do nothing other than make us scratch our heads, leaving us to hold on to them just in case. Whether it's an out-of-place weapon or just some random junk, explorers have plenty to find. On the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, we can come across Dave Handy, named after a developer who worked on the game. Billy in the Den has some fun things to say about Dave, but we are looking more into what he has in his pockets today. If we pickpocket or kill Dave, we can get our hands on the one-of-a-kind item, the Trophy of Recognition. The in-game description reads, a solid gold trophy with the inscription to Dave from DC's, for being a special person. The trophy has an incredibly high value of 2,000, but also weighs 10 pounds, so whether you plan to sell it or just leave it in your car's trunk for a keepsake, rare item hunters will want to visit Dave the next time they are in San Francisco. In a previous short, I showed a clip of this location and got a few questions about it, so let's take a look. In Fallout 3, much like other games from Bethesda, there are a plethora of unused areas and map cells that still exist in the game. One of the most exciting locations you can't get to in Fallout 3 is the Test QA world, Rock Creek Estates. We enter this cell by using the console command COC QA world origin. This map is so interesting to me because we never see such a dense burnt forest in the game, and the vibe is perfect for the Fallout universe. Taking inspiration from the real-world Rock Creek Park, this is a sprawling demo cell with a few mirelurks and hunters roaming the area. In fact, it's believed that Grandma Sparkle's boys could have been placed here. While we can't enter any of the doors here, there is a cave entrance next to the mirelurks and a house perched perfectly to watch over the canyon. Winding roads spread from the creek base and presumably would have led to the other areas around DC. The dense trees and shallow creek bed offer an excellent looking Fallout location, and it's great that we can see what the devs were thinking by visiting places like this. In Fallout 3, one of the best parts of exploring the Capital Wasteland is the various Vault-Tec Vaults that we can find littered around the area. The Lone Wanderer being from Vault 101 adds a bit of mystique to the other bunkers in the area. What could they be hiding? How are they different from our home vault? While there are a few that we can explore, there are some that we only hear about, and at Paradise Falls, we can find a relic from a vault that we never get to visit. Inside the barracks at the slaver camp, we can find a Vault 77 jumpsuit, and next to it, a holotape simply called, "Burn This Goddamn Jumpsuit."
Like I told you, man, I don't fucking know where it came from, but it freaks the boys out. Some story from a while back about a stranger with no name. Just get rid of the damn thing. Ain't no good gonna come from keeping it around. Besides, if it is his, maybe he'll come back for it. Comprende?
The Vault 77 jumpsuit will boost our unarmed and melee weapon skills by 5, but where did it come from, and why are the raiders spooked by its very presence? This is actually one big reference to the webcomic One Man and a Crate of Puppets by Jerry Holkins with art by Mike Krahulik, creators of the Penny Arcade comics. It was commissioned by Bethesda and launched on the Fallout 3 website in July 2008. The comic itself is about a lonely man who has a crate of puppets to keep him company while inside Vault 77. Eventually he would lose his mind, and the comic follows his descent into madness. While it's silly and a bit on the comical side, it's really cool to see a tie-in like this into the Fallout universe. The fact that it leads to a unique Vault jumpsuit is just the icing on the cake for rare item hunters, so make sure to stop by Paradise Falls to add this to your collection the next time you're in the Capital Wasteland. Fallout Tactics is filled with great experiences and fun content for those willing to take the time to give it a good shot. While it departs from some major staples present in the first 2 Fallout games, Fallout Tactics is still well worth your time. The Warrior will travel the waste from bunker to bunker with their misfit squad of riffraff, stumbling upon many incredible locations and exciting people. But there's one person we can find in the wasteland that stands out above all the rest, and we can recruit him as a companion if the squad isn't full. We can discover the Pip-Boy wandering around waiting to be saved by the Brotherhood. Interestingly, Fallout Tactics does not refer to him as the Vault Boy, either because the name wasn't as prominent or even coined yet, or because they wanted to separate the two individuals. Whatever the case, the Pip-Boy is slower than most people you find and can take much less damage, so if you want to keep him around, parking him at a bunker would be the way to go. Still, there's nothing like trekking the wasteland with the Vault-Tec mascot. In Fallout 3, we can find a variety of one-of-a-kind weapons, armors, and small trinkets littered across the Capital Wasteland. These rare items can fuel adventures for the Lone Wanderer as we explore what Fallout 3 has to offer us. When we cross paths with another Wanderer, there is an opportunity to get our hands on one such armor set. Just east of Roosevelt Academy, we can find a makeshift raider base with a unique NPC patrolling it called a Wanderer. The NPC is completely random when it comes to appearance and gender, but one thing we will always find on them is the Wanderer's leather armor. Like most unique items in Fallout 3, the Wanderer's leather armor is identical to its more common counterpart. Still, it boasts a +10 to the small gun skill. I have always liked the design of the leather jacket armor in the Fallout series, starting with the original. It's clearly based on the look of the original Mad Max, and it fits perfectly into a post-nuclear world. Rare item hunters will want to add this to their collection if you find yourself out and about in the Roosevelt Academy area. Thank you to Genial Dragon from the Discord server for suggesting this one. In Fallout 4, each location we find has small details and sometimes great stories. The Commonwealth is a pretty big area, and I'm always impressed with how much can be packed into a Fallout map when hanging out in the game world. One of the more humorous finds in the Fallout series comes from Fallout 3 at Satcom Array in N03D, a location I have covered before on the channel. Opening this door will give us a delightfully crass message written in green on a wall. This has always been one of my favorite gags, and in Fallout 4, we can see a bit of a throwback to it. We can find these concrete installations just southwest of Suffolk County Charter School. Approaching the one in the center and opening the door, we can see a far more polite message, which many have used as evidence that Fallout has become more bubblegum under Bethesda. Once the door is opened, a leveled, sometimes legendary, sentry bot will spawn directly behind the pillar. I believe they're trying to imply that the bot is coming out of the door in the back, but he simply just spawns behind the concrete structure. I have always viewed this as a funny reference to an even more amusing encounter. Regardless of its purpose, callbacks to previous titles are always welcome to me, and this is one of the best.
More classics coming right up for you, so stay tuned.
I gotta testify. Come up in the spot looking extra fly. For the day you die, you gon' touch the sky. You gon' touch